welcome back to Pulse Studios, home of 94.7 The Pulse Community Radio and Pulse Television. This show is produced by Diversitat students and volunteers. So, if you'd like to be part of one of our shows as a volunteer, or if you're interested in any of our media courses, check out 947thepulse.com for more information. Next up, Bethany steps aboard the latest generation of pilot boats that are out there protecting our bays.
Captain Robert Buck, you're the Managing Director of the Port Phillip Sea Pilots. What is a sea pilot?
Sea pilot is an ex-ship's captain who has specialist local knowledge and undertakes risk management to bring the ships into and out of the ports of Melbourne and Geelong and Port of Hastings. The Port Phillip Heads is recognised as one of the more dangerous waterways in the world. Very strong currents there, and the ships that we bring in, they can come in at drafts where the depth of the water underneath the ship is down to 1.5 metres. If the ship strays from the channel, then it will run aground, and there's a high risk of environmental damage, of course economic loss, both for the ship owner and the state of Victoria, because the Port of Melbourne is the largest container port in Australia and handles about 36% of all container traffic in and out of the country.
Who pays for this service? Is it a government service?
No, we're a private organisation, and the ship owner or the ship charterer pays for the service that the pilot provides. We are, of course, here to protect the environment of the state and the people here, so although the ship owner actually pays for the service, we're really here to service the state of Victoria and the people in it. Port Phillip Sea Pilots have been in operation since 1839. We actually predate the state of Victoria by some 13 years, and we've operated from the area that we operate now ever since that date. So we have a very long history with the state of Victoria.
So how does it work? If a cargo ship's coming in, what happens?
We go out on a small pilot boat, relative to the size of the ship of course, and the pilot climbs up the side of the ship on a rope and timber ladder and then goes up to the bridge of the ship, and there's a discussion that takes place between the captain and the pilot, passing on information about the conditions, the operation of the ship, and what the plan is to bring the ship into the port. And then once that's all agreed to, the ship is under the conduct of the pilot to bring it in through the heads, follow down the channel, across the bay, and up into the ports of Melbourne or Geelong in the case of Port Phillip Bay, and that's all done under the control of the pilot.
Is it a dangerous job?
It can be dangerous at times. The transfer between the pilot boat and the ship is always the most hazardous moment. I can speak from personal experience, having fallen off a pilot ladder in the middle of winter, early hours of the morning. Fortunately, our crew are well trained in personnel recovery, and I was only in the water for 5 minutes, but had they not been so well trained, I could have been in a situation where I wasn't talking to you today.
For you, what's the best part about the job?
I think everything. It's a job that has the best parts of the time that I was a ship's captain. It's the nature of the work, being able to walk on board a ship and have the opportunity to take over the conduct of the ship and be able to bring the ship in and out of port, and knowing at the end of the day that you've enjoyed being on the bay for the day.
And I must ask, are you sick of jokes about pirates of Penzance?
No, we don't get too many of those these days, but there's plenty of other jokes about pilots.
Got any?
Not that I can discuss at the moment.
Thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Roxie Bennett has been a familiar voice to Geelong radio listeners over the years, and we were fortunate enough to catch up with her to discuss different aspects of her life and her latest career challenge.
Today we're down at Rutland Street in Newtown, and we've been invited to meet Roxie Bennett, radio personality in Geelong. You may have heard her voice. We can meet her in person. Welcome.
Absolutely. Now, welcome to Planet Roxie. Why don't you come in and get to know me a bit better? I think for me, I was always going to be somebody who pushed to the front of the room and pushed to the front of the crowd, and so I suppose that's been probably a fairly obvious career choice when I went into radio. I spent 20 years in radio, predominantly doing the breakfast show on K-Rock for 8 years, which is where most people in Geelong would know me from. When it ended, it was the right time for me to move on. So I then spent 8 years in the not-for-profit sector. I worked for Coringal, a disability organisation, doing event management and business development, and that was a fantastic experience. It was great for the heart to be able to use the skills I had to improve the lives of other people. I had another stint back with the radio stations for a little while, and I just thought, I really would like to start my own business. Very fortunately, my partner is a wonderfully supportive man, and he sort of said, well, just do it. And so I did, and this is it. And I don't think you can do this stuff unless you have really supportive people behind you, or it's very hard to do it if you're doing it on your own. We're essentially an event management company. That's our main sort of stock and trade. But as well as that, we do really boutique marketing kind of stuff. A lot in the social media space, but also that marketing that's really around engagement and is very personal kind of marketing. When I first started the business, I was working out of home and had a really cool office set up there, but I knew that I needed to establish something that was a little bit more professional. And I like the feeling that people arrive and sort of feel like they're almost like they're in my home. It's just got a really cool atmosphere, and it's a great creative space. I was diagnosed with breast cancer when I was 35. My daughter at the time was, wasn't even 1, or she'd just turned 1 actually, and my son had just turned 4. So it was pretty shocking. On the surface, I wouldn't acknowledge that I might have died. I just kind of went about business as per usual. I look at it now and I think, my God, what was I thinking? I should have just taken time off. But I think that's what actually got me through, to be honest. I think it was the fact that I wasn't acknowledging it really, and I looked at my kids and I thought, maybe I mightn't have been here to see this. My partner and I are about to put some amazing eggs, Buckleberry Farm free-range eggs, into supermarkets and up and down the eastern seaboard, which is super exciting, and we're really proud of our eggs, and they're beautiful, and we've got very happy chooks. And I never thought a few things once I'd left Colac and indeed the Otways, that A, I'd ever be on a farm again, or that B, I'd be looking at chooks again. But there you have it. It's funny how life is. To me, I think the highlights have really been the people I've worked with. I've worked with some incredible people, and people who have massive hearts and who are really dedicated and love what they do and are inspiring in the way that they do it. And I think they're the highlights. That's the thing that's important, and I guess that's the thing that I would like in the future for people to say she was very generous with her time and her support, and the way that I might help somebody else because of the people who've helped me over the journey. Yeah, it's been sometimes a tough journey, but gosh, you wouldn't be dead for quids.